It was a crisp autumn afternoon, the kind where the air carries a hint of winter and the leaves crunch underfoot like delicate brittle paper. The streets of the small town bustled with families heading home, kids kicking piles of leaves and a gentle breeze swirling. Among them, Emma and Neil walked hand in hand, their 5-year-old son Ollie skipping along ahead of them. They weren't in any hurry. They had decided to take the long way home after a day of errands, enjoying the rare quiet moments together as a family. Ollie darted back and forth, chasing his own swirling leaf, his laughter echoing in the cool air. Emma smiled at him, pulling her scarf tighter against her neck. She glanced at Neil, his hands tucked deep into his jacket pockets, his eyes light despite the chill. They didn't have much. It had been a lean year and bills were always on their mind. But they had each other. Their little family was a constant they cherished above all. As they turned the corner onto Maple Avenue, Emma noticed something unusual up ahead. An older woman sat on a bus stop bench, her frail body wrapped in a tattered coat too thin for the weather. Her silver hair was neatly brushed, but her face was lined with shadows of worry. Instead of boarding a bus, she was rifling through a worn-out handbag, pulling out packets of sugar and crackers like treasure, her fingers trembling from the cold. Emma stopped, instinctively tightening her hold on Neil's hand. "Look," she murmured, nodding toward the bench. Neil followed her gaze, his brows knitting together. The old woman reminded him of his grandmother, a woman of quiet dignity who had been fiercely independent her whole life. He felt an ache twist in his gut. "She's alone," he said softly. Ollie came bounding back to them, holding his prize leaf proudly before realizing his parents had stopped moving. "What are you looking at?" he asked, peering curiously down the street. Emma knelt to Ollie's level, her voice quiet and warm. "See that lady over there? She might need a little help. Do you think we should go talk to her?" Ollie's bright eyes searched the woman's face, and without hesitation, he nodded. "She looks sad, Mommy. Let's go make her happy." Hand in hand, the family moved together, their steps steady with purpose as they neared the woman seated on the bench. The old woman didn't see them at first, her focus still deep in her bag. It wasn't until Ollie confidently said, "Hi there," that she blinked up at them, startled. The old woman didn't see them at first, her focus still deep in her bag. It wasn't until Ollie confidently said, "Hi there," that she blinked up at them, startled. Emma offered her warmest smile. "Hello, ma'am. Are you all right? You look a little chilly out here." The woman's blue eyes flickered between the family, the concerned faces of the parents, the curious innocence of the little boy. She hesitated. "I'm fine, dear. Just waiting." "For the bus?" Neil asked. The woman shook her head slowly and let out a tired sigh. "Not for the bus, I suppose. I don't really know what I'm waiting for." Emma bit her lip, reading the sadness in her voice. Emma crouched down next to the bench, bringing herself to the woman's eye level. "It was awfully cold tonight to be sitting out here. Why don't you come with us for a moment? We live just a block away," she said gently. The woman looked taken aback, as if the offer had caught her off guard. "Oh no, I couldn't impose," she began. "You wouldn't be imposing at all," Neil interjected firmly, his tone kind but resolute. "We've got hot tea and soup at home. Please, let us warm you up." Ollie chimed in, tugging at the woman's sleeve. "You can sit at our table. Daddy makes the best soup and I can show you my leaf." The old woman's lips trembled, and for a fleeting second, a tear glistened in her eye. She finally nodded, as if surrendering to the kindness she didn't expect. "Well, I suppose I could. Just for a little while." Once they reached their modest home, Emma set about preparing tea, and Neil heated up the soup while Ollie brought a pile of his favorite toys to show their guest. The woman relaxed slowly, her stiff posture easing as warmth returned to her fingers. She introduced herself as Margaret, sharing small snippets of her life, a widow with no children of her own, living in a distant neighborhood. Her neighbor had recently moved away, leaving her without anyone to turn to. As they listened, Emma felt her heart twist. She couldn't imagine how lonely it must feel, waking up every day to silence. It was a reminder of how fragile human connection could be, and how a simple act of kindness had the power to restore it. By the time dinner had passed and the evening settled in, Margaret's expression had softened entirely. She laughed lightly at one of Ollie's silly jokes, surprising even herself. "You've all been so kind to me," she said, sipping the last of her tea. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already have," Neil said. "You've reminded us how important it is to look out for each other. That's more than enough." Before Margaret left that night, Emma gave her their phone number and promised to visit her soon. Ollie handed her his prize leaf, saying, "So you won't forget us." Margaret tucked it carefully into her handbag, her gratitude shining through her tired smile. As Emma, Neil, and Ollie stood at the doorway waving her goodbye, they couldn't help but feel like their day had grown richer. Not because of what they had done, but because of the connection they had shared. Margaret had come into their lives as a stranger, but she left with a piece of their hearts. And sometimes, Emma thought, that's what kindness is. A little warmth exchanged in the cold.